Now what we are moving on is, we'll be studying 3 laws of motion. Okay, when we are playing football, there are a lot of laws, substitution laws, then the offside rule, then the penalty, the foul rules, etc., etc. Okay, so there are a lot of laws in each area whichever we are dealing in a life. In our political conditions, in our country, we are having constitution, isn't it? We, the people of India, have to follow the rules which are written in the constitution. Okay, Indian police rule, IPC, all, there are a lot of rules which we are surrounded upon. We have to live according to the rules and the laws, isn't it? Likewise, for motion to occur, or the motion is occurring, or the motion is taking place with respect to 3 laws. That means it is undergoing, it is following these 3 laws. Whichever motion is taking place, they'll be following these 3 laws of motion: first law, second law, and third law of motion. They'll be following 3 laws of motion. Okay, so we'll be discussing in detail these 3 laws of motion. Okay, so let's now, first of all, let us study first law of motion. Let us study first law of motion. The first law of motion is what we have said till now, what I have said till now, which we have discussed till now. Okay, that means, imagine the player, the football player, the ball is kept at rest. The ball is kept at a position. Okay, so you imagine the player is going to take the penalty kick. The ball is kept at the penalty spot, isn't it? Okay, so will the ball move? Is the ball moving at that point? No, it is at rest. The motion, the velocity is 0 meter per second. Okay, now listen. At the moment the referee blows the whistle, what will the player do? The one who is taking the penalty kick, what will he do? He'll come and he'll kick the ball. He'll kick the ball, isn't it? He'll kick the ball. Okay, so what is happening there? What is the player doing there? He is kicking the ball, means he is applying some force. The player is applying force on the football. So what will the player do? He will apply force, and then what will happen? It will move. It will move. Was the ball moving at the initial stage? Was the ball moving? No, the ball was not moving. But when it started to move, when did it start to move? It started to move at the point when the force was applied by the player. At the moment when the force was applied by the player. Understand carefully. The ball was not moving, or any object. If it want to move, what is required? Force is required. This is first law of motion. This is, just understand this concept. Only this much is there to understand in first law of motion. What it is? Any object, if it should move, what should be there? A force should be applied. Okay, but this is the concept. But when we are studying the law, we have to understand, and we have to by heart, and we have to clearly by heart the whole law. That means there is a whole sentence. That full sentence should be there in your answer, because this law is stated by Isaac Newton, and he has compiled a sentence, and he told that this is first law of motion. And whenever we are asked to write first law of motion, we have to write the whole law, the whole sentences, without any change in any word. No word should be changed, because that is first law of motion of Isaac Newton. And if we are going to write in our own words, then we can't say it is first law of motion which is universally accepted. It will be said the first law of motion of Mishal, the first law of motion of Mirzan, the first law of motion of Adil, the first law of motion of Fatima. Okay, if we are writing it in our own words, but that won't be evaluated by the teachers or the invigilators. The only thing which they will value, if you are asked first law of motion, then you have to write the whole sentence clearly. Okay, which is stated by Isaac Newton, not by us. Clear? Okay, so the first law of motion, I have told you, the concept is very much clear. Whenever a body requires motion, or whenever a body should move. When will the body move? The body or the object will only move if a force is applied. Okay, and there is entirely opposite version also for this. This is one point. That means there are two parts for this. First part is, if a body is at rest, if it wants to move, the force should be applied. The second case, in cricket, okay, you will be familiar with these sports. Okay, we are all interested in these sports, and in this condition we are all very sad because no live sports is happening, and the football matches have been restarted in the very soon. Okay, it was restarted. Okay, so we can consolidate those activities, but then also there are a lot of sports items, so even the Olympics have been changed. Okay, so let us hope that everything is okay. These conditions, these situations will change. Let's be optimistic. Clear? Okay, so in cricket, the batsman hits the ball with a huge force. It will move up, and if it is not passing the boundary, the player, the opposite team, the fielding team player, the fielder will come and catches the ball. The fielder team will come and catches the ball, and the batsman will be what? Out. Isn't it? Okay, so listen. The ball was moving when you imagine the scenario of the fielder catching the ball. Okay, the fielder is coming down the ball, means what? He is coming down and he is settling so that he can catch the ball. The ball was moving from top to bottom. It was at motion, and what is the player doing? He will catch it in his hands. That means he is making the ball to come at rest. He is making the ball to come at rest. That means he is stopping the ball. He is stopping the ball. Okay, and also whenever the penalty kick is taken, the player will kick the ball, and what will the goalkeeper do? He will try to stop the ball. He will try to catch the ball. That means the ball which was at motion, the player is trying to stop the ball. Okay, so then also what is happening? Stopping the ball also requires what? A push, or he has to catch the ball. What will happen? He will be applying some force. The ball is coming and hitting on the hand. The fielder will take the catch. That means he is not allowing the ball to go down again. He is making the ball to stop. Isn't it? He is making the ball to stop. That means he is also, the fielder is again, what he is doing is applying some force. So this is the concept. That means any object, it will remain to move in its state of motion. The ball is coming down, state of motion. It will remain to move in the state of motion or at rest. If a body, the football ball was at rest, it will remain as such at rest until any object will remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion. The ball was coming from top to bottom in a uniform motion. Any object will remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion until acted upon by an external unbalanced force. Until it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. Is that clear? This is first law of motion. Any object, listen carefully, any object, it will continue to remain in its state of rest or uniform motion until it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. Is that clear? Is the concept clear? That means the ball, for the penalty kick, the ball was staying at rest itself. If the player didn't kick the ball, it will again stay at rest itself. It will be happy if it stay at rest itself. It doesn't want to have the force application. The ball moving down, it will also be happy to move at the same, it is very happy for the ball to come down at the same velocity, with the same velocity. But what it's doing, it's stopping. The player is stopping the ball. Okay, it's stopping the ball by applying force. So the change in motion, the change in the type of motion requires what? Force. Okay, if it is at rest, if it wants to move, force should be there. If it is moving, if any object is moving, if it want to come rest, what will happen? We have to apply force. The bus moving. In the bus, we all used to traveling. We all are traveling in bus. Okay, so the bus, if it is moving with a high speed, and if the driver wants to, if the cleaner rings the bell, one single bell, then what the driver will do? He'll try to stop the bus. He'll stop the bus. That means what he is doing? He is applying his legs on the brake. That means the brake is applied. That means the brake will make the motion. It will retard the motion. That means it will pull the motion of the bus towards the opposite direction. That means it will make the bus to come at rest. He is applying force. And after the cleaner rings 2 bells, what will the driver do? He'll apply force on he'll apply the accelerator, he'll push on the accelerator pedal. Then what the bus will do? The bus will start to move. That means again the force is applied. So the first law of motion is clearly stating that any object which is at rest or of uniform motion will remain in its state of rest or uniform motion until it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. This is first law of motion. This is the only thing which is first law of motion. And we have discussed first law of motion, and we have studied the definition of first law of motion. And when we have studied this first law of motion, we have studied the new term inertia. We have studied the concept of the new term inertia. We have studied the concept of the new term inertia. Clear? So what will be inertia? You may be wondering, oh, I haven't heard this new term. This is a new term. I don't know what it is. But you know something else. Morning, 4:30 or 5, your parents will come and call you. What you will do? What you will do? You were sleeping, a peaceful sleep with a lot of good dreams and all. And 5 o'clock, your parents, 4:30 to 5, in between 4:30 to 5, your parents will come and call you. They will kick you. But what you will do? You will try to remain in your state of sleeping. You will try to remain in your state of sleeping. Isn't it? There will be some exceptionals. Okay. So out of 100 students, there will be at least 20 students who are very eager to wake up, or 25 students. But the remaining 75, you will be trying to sleep. You will try to continue sleep. Somehow you will take your sheets and all, you will cover your head and you will sleep. Isn't it? So that means you have a tendency to remain in your position or in your state of sleeping. You have a tendency to remain in your state of sleeping. Okay, that is one thing. So this is clear. This example is clear, isn't it? Okay, so that means you have a tendency to continue your state of sleeping. Second case, when you are traveling in bus, if you are standing, or even if you are sitting in your seats, suddenly if the bus is stopped, or if the driver applies brake suddenly, what will we do? We will be moving forward. We are having a forward jerk, isn't it? Suddenly if he applies the brake, we will be moving forward. Why? Because when the bus is moving on the road, with the bus, what we are doing? In the bus, we are sitting in the bus, so with respect to the bus, we are not moving. But with respect to the road or with respect to the nature, we are moving. Our position is changed, isn't it? So our body is under motion with respect to the outside situations. With respect to the surroundings, our body is at motion, isn't it? So when the bus is suddenly stopped, our body is having a tendency to remain in a state of motion itself. We were moving with a peaceful, means what? Our body was at motion, a peaceful motion. But suddenly something happened and the bus is suddenly stopped. So the bus stopped, but our body is having a small tendency to continue our state of motion itself. But then the brake is applied, a force is applied on the bus and also on us, and so what will we do? We will be coming to rest. will be coming to rest, isn't it? And the same condition, after that the bus is again starting to move, then also we will have a backward jerk. That means our body was at rest, so our body will try to remain at the position of rest. Our body will try to remain at the bus. We are standing here inside the bus is also here, and suddenly when the bus is starting to move forward, our body will be having the tendency to stay at that position, at the position of the rest itself. So what will happen? If when the bus is moving, we will have a jerk. That means we are not moving backward, but the bus is moving forward. So what will happen? A small jerk will be there, then we will be coming in position with the bus's position itself, and we will be moving. That means the force is applied, the unbalanced force is applied more by the bus, so we will be moving with the bus. Okay, and when the bus was moving with, and the bus suddenly comes to rest, but what will be, our body will be having a tendency to move forward, so we will have a forward jerk and we will be coming back. Means what? We will be coming to rest, because the application of brake is having a higher unbalanced force than our body's force. Okay, so these are some of the examples. That means here and all these examples states that a body is having a tendency to resist change. A body is having a tendency to resist change. Tendency to resist change. The tendency to resist change is called what? Inertia. The tendency to resist change is called what? Inertia. Okay, so that means whenever we were sleeping at 5 o'clock, your mother comes and calls you, your parents come and calls you, what you will do? You will be having the tendency to resist waking up. You will be having the tendency to resist waking up. So you will be trying to continue sleeping, but the force applied by our parents is more. The unbalanced force applied by our parents is more. They will be taking what? Cane. Okay, so then what you will do? You will be waking up, because the unbalanced force is more. So then you are supposed to wake up, isn't it? Some of you. Okay, others, there are a lot of good students. Okay, there are a lot of children who are waking up. Okay, so that is one thing. So there will be tendency to resist change. That is called what? Inertia. So how it is related with first law of motion? First law of motion, I have told you, any body will continue to remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion until acted upon by an external unbalanced force. So when an unbalanced force is acting, the body will be having the tendency to remain in its state of position, state of motion or state of rest itself. But then the external unbalanced force is more. Okay, so it will have the effect of the applied force. Okay.